You know, one of the things I love most about games is just how well they make their soundtracks. It often gets me questioning why outside the community it's often given a strange look. Whatever the case is, I do ask myself, what if there was a game that the focus heavily relies on listening or following its soundtrack? Yes, there's rhythm games, but I'm talking about a full-scale AAA release where you fight enemies by listening to a beat. Well, I don't think there's a better example than in today's production. You would have to be living under a rock if you've never heard of this title. Hi-Fi Rush has been absolutely blowing up everywhere with endless praise. As many of you already know, I am a massive fan of the hack and slash genre. Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, you name it, I've probably played it by now. With that and just about everything that's been going on with this title, I thought I'd give just a brief overview from it. From development to story and gameplay. We may be a little late to the party on it, but I just have so much that I want to say about it. In any case, this is our review on Hi-Fi Rush. Our story dates back to 2017. Japanese developer Tango Gameworks officially completed their latest title, The Evil Within 2. However, this was when the teams in it were having some new ideas. You see, Tango, and more specifically Bethesda, has had a track record of pretty mature-rated titles. Sure, some are really high quality, but they saw it best to try and appeal to younger developers. That's where John Johannes comes in. It is around this time that he pitched his idea to Tango Gameworks founder, Shinji Mikami. His plan was to make a colorful, rhythmic action game of the likes of other hack and slashes. A small demo was shown to Bethesda higher-ups, and from the looks of it, they seemed pretty impressed. Fun fact, this was stated by him that this was a dream game idea for a very long time, so it was really nice to see that it was approved. Development officially began around 2018. However, there was a bit of a new strategy going on. You see, considering this is a massive departure from what both studios are known for, the overall financial risk in marketing was very high. Not to mention a game like this could also set some expectations that could pressure the team. It was until as recently as late January of 2023 that in an Xbox Developer Direct, we got our first major showcase of Hi-Fi Rush. Not only that, you could basically download it the moment it was revealed. Exclusively to Xbox systems like the Series X and PC, of course. In all honesty, I'm amazed at how well the strategy turned out. Think about it. You're keeping a game like this in the dark all until revealing it all of a sudden and saying you can get it right away. To be fair, this was a title made and published by two very well-known studios, so although chances of an indie game having the same effect are possible, it's probably not that likely. Anyway, I mean, yeah, there isn't that much to be said about its development, so I guess we can move on to the game itself. The story is really simple, actually. You play as Chai, a young kid who signed up for a company's project named Project Armstrong. This was to get a robot arm to replace his broken one. However, while going through the process of it, his music player gets integrated into him. Because of this, everyone in the company is after you for being a defect. So it's up to Chai, this one person you meet named Peppermint, and a few other friends to take down each head of the company, Mandalay, with the goal of stopping them from releasing Project Armstrong, a mind control system to force consumers to buy more products. Okay, I promise it's not as simple as that. There are a few twists, but this is the most basic version I can put it. So what do I think of it? I adore it. It's just endless fun of you fighting robots while going around different parts of a company. Chai is just some kid who keeps daydreaming of being a rock star. Right at the beginning, he is no joke daydreaming himself on a stage while there's enemies after him. Oh, and that's not even mentioning how well the jokes slap. There's a lot of self-awareness, and the characters are just straight up hilarious to watch. They follow very simple archetypes, but the way they bounce off each other is really well done. We got Chai, who's always overconfident and can get himself in a mess, while you have basically everyone else telling him how crazy his ideas can be. And we do get to see a bit of decent development on top of it all. You can see the disgust Chai has for the situation he's gotten in the beginning of the game, but as you progress, he definitely bonds a lot more with the others. Too soon just working for Mandalay and wanting to pursue his dream of being a rock star. And that's not even mentioning the whole setting this takes place in. Let me tell you something, I've never been a fan of the evil CEO trope. You can probably guess why, but beyond that, it's still just a really dumb concept. That said, however, I do think that Kale, the main antagonist, is a really good example of how I'd like this kind of character to be executed. He is evil, yes, but at the same time, he has that smugness, and his massively basic motivation just mixes so well and flows with the cast perfectly. His entire goal is to brainwash the world into buying more of their products. And I kid you not, this is his defense.
Do you have any idea how difficult it is to make something people actually want to buy? It's ridiculously hard!
This is so true. As I was saying, even though he has one of the most bare-bones goals, I guess it's just the overall confidence this game has that makes it so entertaining. The story really trusts itself in what it's doing and just wants you to have fun. To a bit of a surprise, there are a few small moments that are a little more emotional. For example, one of the heads of security, Corsica, is shown throughout the story to be a bit more insecure than the rest of the bosses. You start noticing that, and so you try to negotiate with her to create an alliance. She even takes down Kale with you, which is quite a unique dynamic. Ultimately, at the end, she stays with the others to help grow Mandalay to a brighter future. And that's not even mentioning who Kale really is. While it is pretty obvious by a simple glance that he and Peppermint are related, it was still a nice little twist. And now I just realize I'm analyzing the intricacies of Hi-Fi Rush of all games. All in all, Hi-Fi Rush is simply just a decent story. Nothing more, nothing less. But it's the execution, the energy, and confidence that it brings making it as charming and enjoyable as it is. Do keep in mind that that's barely scratching the surface of the strengths. Let's get to the real deal. When it comes to gameplay, there's quite a lot going on, actually. To start off, one of the main things and the main selling point of it is that everything is on a rhythmic beat. From the environments to enemy attacks, the character animations, even the cutscenes. This is practically the core of the game's system, so you'll really want to be able to follow along with it. In terms of mechanics themselves, Hi-Fi Rush plays very similarly to a lot of other titles in the hack and slash genre. You have a light and heavy attack that you can do various combinations with to perform combos. Not to mention you can buy even more combos for variety. What's most important to note, however, is if you do your attacks in sync with the beat, it'll do more damage. So in a way, you basically have to keep track of what combo you want to make, what enemy's about to attack, and the beat of the environment. There's many ways to be in sync. You can look at the backgrounds, you can get this little sign or turn on this bar that tells you if you got it right. Honestly, this is one of the coolest mechanics I've seen in this kind of game. Being able to sync up with the music while you have all of these super flashy and colorful animations is pure eye candy to me. Oh, and that's not even mentioning the art direction. I am in love with how it looks. The world feels so lively with this vibrant palette, and you have this mix of 2D animation with the 3D environments. Not to mention, in-game cutscenes have this stilted style, which makes it much more appealing to look at. I must ask, why aren't there more AAA releases going with styles like this? Well, I know why, but you get my point. Alright, I haven't mentioned the other mechanics. So on top of all this, let's say you get an actual combo from your disposal done. This floating cat head named 808 will also give you a beat to sink into, which can be a finishing move. You really want to do this so you can collect batteries to charge this meter up here. Once full, you'll be able to press both analog sticks for an even more devastating attack or useful ability. You can ride your guitar, heal, set up a hologram of you, and so many other powerful moves. Last but not least, you get the partner system as you progress in the story. What it does is you can call in one of your friends, be that Peppermint, Macaron, and Corsica, to help you out with an enemy. That or some obstacle as you do some platforming in the levels. These are simple, but still really good additions to all the fighting you do. It helps keep variety, and there's many enemies I tend to defeat faster if I bring everyone in on them. This all sounds like it can be overwhelming for the player, but it really isn't. The game does a really good job at teaching you and letting you experiment before you get new abilities. But what's a music-themed hack and slash without a soundtrack? So how's that part? It's absolutely great. It has a very 80s and 90s style classic rock soundtrack, but with a mix of other genres too. Heck, there's even licensed music here. Groups like 9 Inch Nails, The Black Keys, and so many more. This game actually lets you pick between the original soundtrack or the inclusion of these licensed tracks. I mostly play with the OST, but I will say the songs chosen are really good. Oh, I haven't even mentioned the bosses yet. In my opinion, they're where the gameplay can really peak. You go from fighting an average giant robot to having a duel with Corsica. If I had to name my favorite one of the bunch, it has to be Zanzo. You don't even fight him directly. What you do is try and make him drain his budget through his augmented reality simulation. The dialogue and how Zanzo gets more desperate to defeat you as you progress makes this one of the funniest and best concepts for a boss. I'm really trying my best to find at least one thing that I felt was pretty average or just didn't like, but there's really not that much. Maybe I could say that the game's a bit too short? There's only 12 chapters, and some are super short like some action set piece or scene, or a boss. But hack and slashes tend to be very short in length. I mean, Metal Gear Rising had 8 chapters, but personally this game's completely fine as it is. There's a ton of replayability, however. I guess maybe I could also say that you can only switch costumes after beating the campaign once. With all that said, you can kind of already guess how the reception of this game was. Or, well, just saying that this game got massive praise is an understatement. It absolutely blew up during its release. So many people creating productions on it and singing its praises from the music, gameplay, and art style. As for a commercial performance, it too was a major success. Getting exact numbers on this was a bit more difficult, but it has been confirmed that it outperformed Forspoken, its main competition during its release week. To put it in perspective how big of a deal this is, keep in mind that Hi-Fi Rush got zero marketing and is currently selling for $30. While Forspoken, a $70 AAA release from Square Enix with millions poured into advertising, was still outperformed by Hi-Fi Rush. That's not something you see very commonly. I have a feeling that with the success of this game, hopefully more publishers could be open to the idea of being a bit more experimental. Which, I think that's a pretty good way to conclude this whole topic. Hi-Fi Rush is one of the most unique and amazing games I've been able to try out. Almost everything that this title brings is just a treat. In a time where publishers are rushing out unfinished and buggy projects, a time where games are now pushed over $70 sometimes, it's so refreshing and beautiful to see that there's still those willing to go for a simpler and just genuine passionate route. I really want to see some more unique mechanics like this and gorgeous art direction on many future titles, no matter the developer. If you still haven't played Hi-Fi Rush after it received a lot of praise during these past months, I strongly recommend you check it out. There's so many things to just love about it, and even if it doesn't seem appealing to you, give it a try through Game Pass. All I can say is that Hi-Fi Rush was more than a perfect start to what I think will be a great year for gaming. This is Akariomi from Mintjoy Pictures.